And we're live at the Virtual Real Estate Investing Podcast brought to you by Grayline Investments. How you doing today, Frank?
I'm doing awesome, man. Super pumped. We got titans of the acquisition function in real estate on the call today, so I'm super juiced.
Yes, we are going to talk all about closing deals. We got two amazing acquisition managers. I might be partial, but I think two of the best in the business. They're going to share a bunch of takeaways with us today. Super excited to jump into it. So let's just do that. First, we have Mr. Adam Parsons. Adam, good to see you. Can you give us an intro about who you are and what you're doing?
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Yeah, Adam Parsons here. I'm the acquisition manager with Grayline Investments. That's me.
Awesome. Then you have to throw it over to Kyler. We're going Foursquare today. So Kyler, go ahead and please introduce yourself.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you, first of all, for having us on here, guys. We really appreciate it. So my name's Kyler Peters. I'm based out of Austin, Texas here. So I work with Nick Perry and Brandon Sepulveda over here at Want to Sell Now. So we are a nationwide wholesaling and flipping company. So I am director of acquisitions over here. I got a team about 3 or 4 underneath me. So, yeah, man, we're just crushing it, trying to one up ourselves every day.
I like it.
I love it. Let's get right into it. So I think the opportunity we have, since we have two acquisitions managers on the call today, is to kind of compare what we're doing. So we're going to dive right into each of our businesses. And I'm going to ask Kyler to go first. What is your, I think I know the answer, but for the viewers, what's your primary marketing strategy right now? Like how you're getting your leads and what do those leads look like? Some people do probate, some people do leads, some people do tired landlords. So what's your primary strategy? Who you hitting? And how's that working out for you? Can you take us through that?
Absolutely. Yeah. So our marketing is probably the most broad marketing you're going to see in the wholesaling space. So we do nationwide PPC and a lot of SEO work. So all the leads that come in are inbound leads. So they reached out to us, requested a cash offer. So they are essentially, I guess you would call them hot leads for most people. So we have some junior acquisition agents that are pretty much the initial phone call. They're just the qualifiers essentially. So you got to make it past the gatekeeper to talk to one of our senior acquisition managers, which would be one of myself. So, but yeah, as far as the leads, there's really no specific niche. There's no like vacant list or probate or divorce or anything like that. It's really about diagnosing as soon as we get on the phone call. All right, what's your situation? Because you don't go to a pawn shop trying to look for full price and you're in a good situation. There's a reason why you're reaching out to us. So it's our job to diagnose that and get to the bottom of it. Yeah.
Awesome. And just for the contrast, Adam, we're different, right? So how are we different from what Kyler just said?
Yeah, absolutely, Frank. Yeah, so Kyler was all outbound, all inbound, and we're outbound prospecting. So we have a team of now 12 lead specialists, lots of all VAs doing outbound cold calling and SMS, along with some ringless voicemails. Over the past month to 2 months now, we've really picked up our cold call method, where if you asked me a few months ago, I would have been all in on SMS, but we changed up our game a bit and we're moving to cold calling a little bit heavier as of recent.
So question for both of you. What strategy is better, outbound or inbound?
Yeah, I can definitely say as far as what takes more skill, definitely the outbound. You got to be on your toes, and you're not as welcome as I am. So a lot of my guys, it's still like I'm managing a book of at least 200 people at all times. So you can imagine what kind of organizational skills you got to have to manage a book that size. But as far as actively hunting and eating what you kill, I got to give that to Adam. That takes skill.
Well, before Adam goes, I got to ask you then. So if you have, then why don't you guys do it? I'm sorry. I know I'm
It
pushing the
works.
envelope on the first two questions.
Yeah,
I gotta ask.
no, it works for us. So I mean, we did close to 3 million in an assignment fees last year, and I did about 1.2 million myself personally in 2020. So if it's not broken, I'm not fixing it. That's right.
That's the right answer. Awesome, man.
No, Kyler, you're doing great stuff over there, man. Yeah, for us, it's like Kyler said, you kind of eat what you kill. The lead specialists, they beat up the phones, they hit up ringless voicemail, the SMS. They get the qualified lead, and I guess we can talk about what a qualified lead is to us, because it'll be different for Kyler, obviously, with our marketing strategy. So basically, if they own the house, they want to sell the house, they want to sell the house to below market value. For our VAs, though, we use Zillow as the market value. And then basically, hey, do you want to talk to my acquisition manager? And of course, that's me. So that's how we intake all the leads. It comes into the top of our pipeline, and that's when my lead associate kind of vets out the lead, make sure we don't have any duplicates or anything like that. We're starting to get more of them as we beat up these markets. So she kind of weeds out people I don't need to chat with. Maybe they're missing some information and so forth. And then it comes down into my bucket, and that's my cue to comp the property and give them a call.
Nice, Al. One of the questions I have is both of you guys understand scale, right? Many people that are getting into real estate, they can imagine closing a deal, right? Like getting a lead, closing that lead, and getting a deal. But a lot of people struggle with deal flow or consistently getting deals, right? So I'll throw it to you first, Kyler. What's the difference? What's your mindset difference as an acquisitions guy trying to close one deal versus, hey, I have a pipeline that I have to try to keep this going so I can have some type of even flow?
Right. Yeah. So my big thing is, and as far as keeping deal flow alive, I mean, all of the money you spend on data and pulling lists and everything, I don't think it ever goes to waste. You're just feeding the future pipeline. So if you're just actively chasing one deal and you finally get it under contract, you're looking to sell it, and then you turn around and you haven't been consistently making your calls and reaching out to those people who may not be ready now, but they'll be ready in 30 to 45 days. If you're not consistently being top of mind, you're going to turn around and you're going to have an empty net. You're not going to have anything in the pipeline. So I think it's super important, even with consistently having inbound leads, is to always be on top of the existing database, money that you've already spent. Pay them attention and just let them know, hey, I'm still here for you. Let me know when you guys are ready. We're looking to buy.
I like it. Then Adam, what do you have to say about scale and making sure you can keep even flow?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can either drink from the water hose, or you can kind of have a method to that madness. And that's kind of like how, why we have the funnel we have it set up as. Now as acquisition manager, I'm trying to determine, at what level do we have to hire another one of me, another closer, right, to get after those qualified leads. So we got to stay on it, and that's a huge. It really it's a measure of our funnel right now.
Yeah, and just to touch on that while we're on it, I mean, we have like 2 follow-up specialists that, like our database, like with all existing people in our Podio, there's about 16,000 people in there. And we mark them accordingly. If they've already sold the property, we've marked it, but there's 16,000 active people who haven't sold it. So we have a follow-up specialist that's their sole job, to go back until like 2018 on and just say, hey, you guys still looking to sell? You got any other property you're looking to sell? We're still here. So just that's their only job, is to follow up.
Yeah, we were in a call where we heard Nick say that, and I think we might steal your guys' idea, to be totally transparent. Yeah. But I was going to ask you if you knew the ROI on that move already, right? Like if you guys had enough data to say, hey, we have this how much are we making off of follow-up or by dedicating the follow-up? Just so maybe people listening are like, wow, maybe that's something I should start doing.
No, absolutely. I mean, I can't tell you how many times, even within the past year, that we pull out leads that are like, wait, they entered their website information in 2018 and we just closed them in 2020. And it's like a $30,000 deal. I mean, that's the ROI right there. If you pull one out of them, I mean, that's probably that person's salary for the entire year. So, I mean, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, you already paid for the data, either inbound or outbound. You already paid.
It's already, the data's just sitting there, and if you don't call them, someone else will. So I think it's money lost if you don't have someone hitting it.
Mm-hmm. No doubt.
Excellent. I want to. Oh, go ahead, Adam.
Yeah, no, and when we heard Nick say that about his follow-up process, you know, it is something that I implemented on our end as we're scaling the lead specialist, and we have more hands on deck, if you will. We have someone contacting what we call our AWOL. These are people that, hey, we'll schedule an appointment with the acquisition manager, but next thing you know, when I try to call them back, I'm getting ghosted. So eventually they get tagged as AWOL. They go to that bucket. We've got a lead specialist now. Her whole job is to just contact that bucket full of leads. And being a fairly young company, you know, there's still about 1,000 leads in there, you know, that have ghosted us. So between that and our drip campaign, people that, you know, we've offered, we couldn't make a deal on price. They go to drip. It's really awesome to see a duplicate record now come in that I just mentioned, you know, when we started the podcast here. But duplicate records are now coming in, and their offer price is higher than what it was previously. So I kind of know their bottom number. So now it's easier to start at that bottom number where we ended before. So yeah, it's been super beneficial with us.
Right. Absolutely.
I like it. One of the questions that I've got for you is, if you're not in sales, it can be really intimidating, right? There's this idea that to be a good salesman, you have to be able to maybe schmooze people, right? Or you got to have a way with words that, I don't want to use the word manipulative, right? But you've got a way with words. And being in a sales organization at this point, I think there's some truth to that, but I also think there's so much value in having a good system, a good pipeline of leads coming in. So Adam, I'll throw this one to you to start. Like, what makes a good salesman? Do you have to be an extrovert? Do you have to be really good with words, or what does it take to succeed here?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think a lot of people put negotiation up on a pedestal, like, oh, you have to be a great negotiator in order to do sales. And I don't think that's the case. I do think it helps. I think it helps to be a problem solver. If I would, you know, tag or coin something as a sales thing, like problem solving is one, and then having the mindset, that hustle mindset, kind of our core values, right? Hustle and grit. You have to have that in sales because it's nitty gritty. It's eat what you kill. And, you know, tomorrow may not have been as fruitful as it is today. So for me, it really is like, just pick up the phone, smile and dial, and, you know, and get after it.
I like it. What do you think, Kyler?
Yeah, I think that's spot on as far as like picking up the phone. I mean, I can't tell you, like, one of our second biggest deal came from a direct call in. They didn't enter any information online. And it was like an $80,000 Hawaii deal. So just me picking up the phone, because, you know, he was calling someone else right after that. So number one, pick up the phone. Number two, I really just come from it as kind of a consultative approach. And that's probably why the inbound leads are more different. Just because, I mean, it may not be the best option for you. Maybe subject to, or maybe, hey, let's get our, maybe like a wholesale or something like that. So I think it's really just kind of like, first of all, listening to why that they would even be interested in a cash offer. And then second of all, like Adam said, just diagnosing that problem, and just figuring out the best solution for them. So a lot of times I'll tell people, like, hey, if it were me, I would just list this on the market with the realtor and then get top dollar. I mean, why don't you do that? And just kind of put it back on them. and then they'll tell me, oh, here's why. So I'm gonna be like, okay, well, that's just added ammunition right there. So yeah, you do need me more than I thought. So that's where you'll switch. Yep.
Yeah, I was going to actually add to what you guys are talking about. I think in wholesaling, especially for companies that are trying to do volume, which I think both of our companies are, I feel like the funnel and the lead flow, the flow of the leads is of paramount importance, because you're going to get told no so often that at least the next morning you can wake up and still get a yes, right? Like when the lead drive, the yes the next day is not coming, right? So I think that's where the discouragement and like the psychological effect of lead gen comes into play.
Well,
you said.
Yeah, absolutely. And on top of that, like, honestly, I'm definitely biased on this, but acquisitions is the most important role in any wholesaling company. So I can't tell you how many times we've had a good lead come in, and probably not the most qualified person on the other end of the phone, and we fumble it. And guess what? We lose that deal within hours. So like, we're in hot markets like Phoenix, or you're in hot markets like anywhere in Southern California. If you don't come correct and you don't like portray confidence on the other end of the phone that you're going to get the deal done for them, like, they've never seen my face. We don't do Zoom calls. It's all over the phone. So I have to make them trust me, first of all. And then what solution I'm pitching, I have to make it sound like it was their idea the entire time. So I just lead them to their options and say, what do you want to do from here?
Mm-hmm. You mentioned, I love that. You also mentioned creative financing strategies and wholetailing and other exit strategies. So how do you guys, I mean, subject to, it might be up to the seller, right? That might be the best option for them. So I understand that. But in terms of exit, how do you guys figure out what you're going to do? And as an acquisitions manager, do you ever have to think about that during your negotiation or sales process?
Yeah, absolutely. So as far as like, I'll be listening and taking notes actively on Podio while I'm taking that phone call. So a lot of people like to walk around. A lot of people like to fidget, do whatever, but I'm sitting in there listening to every word and taking notes. So I know if I figure out, we get down to it, oh, you have a mortgage on this property. Do you by chance know what that payoff amount is? Okay, great. I just want to see if all of our options are available. Do you mind sharing your mortgage payment information and your interest rate that you have on your loan? Because, I mean, subject twos, I think, are going to be a lot more prevalent than wholesale deals in the upcoming market. So just having that extra tool in your belt, I mean, we've already done like four subject twos, and they're each and every one of them have been a 10 pop. So I think it's definitely, it solves the seller's problem. They just want to either be done with the mortgage and maybe need a little bit on top, or they just had a dramatic change and they, even if they can't list it on the market and cover the realty fees, they just want to break even, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So for me, it's the same thing. I'm going through the conversation, listening to what they're saying. I'm mathing at the same time. I'm trying to find out, like, hey, what could our max price look like? Where are they at? I always try to get an anchor price out of the seller, and then I go from there. And sometimes the seller financing is the only strategy, and I won't even have a cash offer for them. Maybe it doesn't work out, and like Kyler was saying, with those hot markets, you don't want that stuff to slip away just because you disrespected them with a lowball cash offer.
Adam, Adam just locked up a portfolio with the subject to 4 days ago.
Nice. Yeah. Awesome.
Adam, give us the quick 30-second synopsis of that deal to encourage people that are listening.
Yeah, so it was a seller finance deal, pretty awesome. He had 3 properties. The first property that was found by our lead specialist, that was like a property we typically wouldn't target. It was like 30 to 40 K ARV. With the repairs and stuff, I knew I was not even going to come close to scratch his back. He had back taxes, so that was his underlying issue we had to resolve. And PropStream, I'm using it more and more to find linked properties. And I noticed that he had linked properties. I asked him about his other 2 properties on PropStream. Ended up getting all of them seller finance. The deal itself, It was pretty crazy. It was $80,000 cash. We pay the $12,000 back taxes upfront, obviously, and then no payments for 2 years. And again, when you're acquisitions, you gotta think of creative ways to really make money on these deals. And I threw in the 2 years. Hey, we don't pay you we don't pay you any payments for 2 years, and ended up getting all 3 of them.
Yeah, that's awesome. 12 grand to bring to closing, no payments for 2 years.
Yeah, and an acquisition agent off the street's not thinking that deal up. So that's maximizing your marketing right there.
No, I think that's a great point, Kyler. Hopefully people understand what they're getting from you two, because I agree. Acquisition managers across the country are not doing this, right? Like very few business owners are able to wholesale and sub to and wholesale and do creative financing. Like putting that all together is really difficult. And to think both of you guys doing it at a pretty high volume on a daily basis, I think is amazing. Question I want to go to now is, how did you get here? Tell me what you did, why real estate, tell me your history, how'd you get here? Kyler, why don't you go first?
Yeah, so I moved to Austin about 5 years ago from Oklahoma City. So I've always been in sales roles. So whether that's hospitality, I got down here and did solar energy for a while. And that's one of the toughest sales in the world. I still stand by that. So it really was, I was wholesaling on my own for a little bit, for about a year. Went 9 months before I got my first deal. It was about $4,000 as for the assignment fee. So it was my proof of concept. I needed, and I realized how awful wholesaling was when you're on your own. You're a one-man band. So I was like, I need to find a team. And at that time, I was studying. Shout out to Steve Trang. I was studying Steve Trang and his podcast, and I saw Nick Perry was on there, and he said he was from Austin. I was like, how is this guy from Austin? And I don't know who he is. So I hunted him down on Facebook and cold Facebook messaged him basically and was like, hey, here's where I'm at. Here's what I've been doing. Can I get some kind of shot here? And they invited me in and did an in-person interview and jumped on the phones right in front of them. And it was all downhill from there.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Did they
Yeah.
Go ahead, Adam. Sorry.
Yeah, and for myself, I've been doing recruiting since 2010. Obviously, really salesy as well, getting people to join the United States Army. Not an easy task. So I did that since 2010. Currently, still doing it. And then it was John that actually brought me on board to Grayline and basically threw me a Google sheet, told me to start cold calling, and I guess the rest is history. I've been here almost a year now. Next month, yeah.
I respect that. When Adam joined us, we were probably less mature than Nick Perry's organization, which you probably picked up on by what Adam said. So I was going to ask Kyler, what does the interview process look like for an acquisitions manager? It's very much like a Wolf of Wall Street type role, right? That's the mentality that exists. So what did they put you through?
Yeah, so it's very high pressure when you come in for an interview here, especially when you're cold Facebook messaging people. You're being expected to bring your best. So it's really we bring them in. It'll start out with a Zoom interview. If you pass the vibe check on that, they'll bring you in for an in-office interview. And then if that goes well, they'll have you jump on the phone. So we'll give you just some rural leads, some leads that we're not working, and we'll have you give them a call and really just listen to your tonality, your confidence, your flow of the phone call. You don't have to close a deal on the spot to get the job. It's just really just hearing how you are on the phones. And then if that goes great, you got to play a game of ping pong. So we got a big ping pong table in the office. So that's the final trial, is if you can hang on the ping pong table, you get the job.
Did you win?
I did. I still win all the time.
Nice.
Don't let them tell you any different.
So here's a question I'll throw to you first, Adam. But if you're in any of these Facebook groups about wholesaling or getting started in real estate, many of the people are super impatient and they don't have much of a budget, right? So I would advise those people, number one, don't get your hopes up too much. But let's try our best to coach them up here. If someone has like 24, 48 hours to get a deal, very little budget, what's the advice you give them, Adam?
Yeah, so 24 to 48 for sale by owner is probably a good start. It's free, right? Go on Zillow for sale by owner. Driving for dollars, obviously it might take a little bit longer to find that lead and to cultivate who lives there. But that's also another place. Everybody knows a few houses in their neighborhood, the tall grass, the typical wholesale deal when you're out driving around. So I would say either driving for dollars or the for sale by owners. Craigslist is another good place.
Yeah, and I think if you got minimal time to invest, I definitely think like Adam said, Craigslist it still works. I definitely believe that. Driving for dollars and Facebook Marketplace, surprisingly, that's where I found one of my first deals. Was just happened to be listed up there and just kind of didn't really have many photos, and just made the inquiry. So I think just actively hunting the for sale by owners, actively watching Facebook Marketplace, and then also just I would say definitely just like if you can afford, like depending on your budget, if you can afford like a really niche list, and you got $100 to throw at it, I would definitely do either, I would say, code violations, or even like you can go down to the county and get the water shutoff lists. Everyone used to hit those back in the day, and those are free. A lot of those lists are free. You can go down to your county courthouse and pick those up. So I definitely recommend getting in touch with those people and making friends with the gatekeeper there.
I love that. I was going to ask another question about measuring your guys' business, right? Because you guys both have teams. You guys both manage, minimum like 3 to 5 people a piece. I know Adam has a growing basically a call center that supports him now. So you guys have to measure it, right? So like Kyler, I'll ask you first. How do you measure your business, right? And maybe you have all the standard KPIs that everybody tracks, but like what's your meeting cadence too? Sorry if you hear my daughter crying. I'm going to go on mute.
It's all good. No, yeah. So it's pretty straightforward. We have just set numbers. It used to be like, all right, make your 60 calls a day, but then we like come quick to realize you can make 60 empty phone calls and get nowhere. So it's really about, for us, we have a live transfer system. So basically, like Adam's got the people that, okay, if it fits the criteria, then they'll get passed to Adam. We have that exact same thing, except they'll get live transferred. So they'll say, let me put you on hold, transfer you to my home buying specialist, and I'll be on the other end of the phone pretty much waiting with what ammo they got. So we always make sure they get their asking price and their timeline. How soon do you want to get it done? And those two things right there, if you ask nothing else, you'll get a lot of motivation just out of those two questions.
Yeah, and for me, obviously, so I meet with 12 lead specialists. We have our sales meeting every morning. That's kind of our morning cadence. I go through the reps on kind of what I want that day and who's going to do what, whether it's cold calling or SMS. And then I talk to my lead associate. Her and I will break down what lists we want pulled that day, what platforms we're going to upload lists to, and so forth. And then during that time, we have breakout sessions where all our lead specialists are Zooming with each other to go over the script. And they'll do that for 3 to 4 iterations and then just start hitting the phones as well and getting the leads inbound. Nice.
So one of interesting questions I have is, how have you two evolved? What have you learned, right? I think both of you walk around with a certain amount of swagger. So you probably thought you knew everything on day one. But since then, you've made thousands and thousands of phone calls, right? So what are some of those big takeaways? Because we all know this. A lot of people are scared to death to make phone calls, right? It can be super intimidating. So what have you learned? And then kind of what advice would you give those people that are nervous?
You go ahead, Adam.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say no matter what, pick up the phone and give them a call. All right. I think early on I was more intimidated on what they were going to say. All right, they're going to laugh at my lowball offer, and they probably will, right? A majority will, but there's some that won't, and those are the ones that you make a deal on, right? And in order to find those, you have to make all the phone calls. And then 2 for me was volume. In order to get volume and get a good system, we really did have to focus on volume, and I had to think a couple levels above myself and where we were going and so forth, and not be afraid like, hey, Grayline might hire another closer, right? Like, in order to scale the business, for me, it was just like the volume approach and how many more we need.
Yeah, and I'm right in the same boat with Adam there. So I mean, in this, like, if you're going to be in sales in any business, you got to have thick skin. You got to have hard shell and be quick to forget. So like he said, I mean, I expect 99% of people to say no to my first offer. So I'm already locked and loaded and ready for you to say no. And then I'm more of like the good cop, bad cop guy. We have a quote unquote underwriter that I always have to speak to. I am the underwriter, by the way, if you guys didn't know that. So I always have someone. It's like the Chris Voss technique, the deferment of power. So I wish I could get you that number, but tell me, where do you really need to be so I can go talk to my underwriter and we can see if we can make this work. So I expect you to say no, and then we're going to figure it out together. How do we make this fair for both parties? And once they kind of let their guard down after that, and they're like, oh, he's on my side. And I always tell them, I'm like, this isn't my money we're spending here. So let me know what I need to do to get the deal done, and I'll see if I can get him. The worst they can do is say no. So doesn't hurt to ask. Give me a better number.
I love that. It applies to so many different sales processes and situations. I think like the rule in my head that I think about is my relationship with this person about to become adversarial? If you start to feel like that, you can bring in another person, like good cop, bad cop, that seller, buyer, car salesman do the same thing. It doesn't matter, right? Like you never
Absolutely.
want to be at odds too much, right?
Yeah, I'm on the same side of the table. We're figuring this out together. Yep.
Right. Exactly. I don't know if you had anything to add, Adam.
No, I don't have anything to add.
So I was gonna. Sorry, Plum. I think I jumped you, but you guys did a ton of deals, both teams, right? Kyler and Adam. So, like any company, you have to continue to raise the bar, right? So you guys maybe did 250, 300 deals last year. How much are you guys raising the bar for 2021? Since we just recently started the year off, what's the goals for 21?
Yeah, so
yeah, go for it, bro. Go for it.
All right. Yeah, so for me personally, it was $1 million. Last year I held myself to $1 million in assignment fees. I did not hit it last year. But yeah, this year I'd like to think I'm on track to hit $1 million in assignment fees. So really pumped on the year forward.
Yeah, and as a company, I mean, that's awesome. I mean, for outbound sales, I mean, $1 million, that's freaking phenomenal. So as a company, we're looking, last year we did close to 3. We're shooting for 4 to 5, and of course I want to do my part, and I'm trying to double what I did last year. So trying to shoot for that 2 million mark, and I'll be happy. So I think that's the main thing, is even asking yourself if you have those goals. So if you don't have goals as a company, as a team, you're obviously not going to hit them. So just setting those goals in general is awesome.
Excellent. And where are you guys looking for inspiration? Where are you looking for education? What pumps you up outside the office? I'll throw it to you first, Kyler.
Yeah, so I am just a fire hose of information. Very rarely do I watch TV. I don't listen to the radio hardly anymore, so it's all Audible and YouTube and podcasts. So I definitely recommend, as far as just, any side of the business here, keeping your mindset right. So I do read a lot of mindset books and how to just control your emotions and things like that. And of course, any kind of sales situation. And then I look at strategy a lot. I study Chris Voss. I study all of the Brad Lee, all the big time sales guys. So they all have their own strategy and style, and all have good information. So I'm just constantly learning about my craft and how can I improve myself and my own processes. Yeah.
Yeah, and for me, it's kind of the same as Kyler. You know, I stick to podcasts. I don't watch too much TV, podcasts, and then I tend to claw on to teams that I feel have a really strong culture, and kind of on the same playing field as us here at Grayline and myself. So I try to kind of like claw into them. I'll follow them on social media, soak in all their information. In wholesale, there's a lot of people that love to share what they're doing. And then there's a lot of people that try to keep stuff close to their heart. So, and really those people weed themselves out. You know, those probably aren't the same people on our field and stuff. So yeah, I really just attach myself to a few wholesale teams that I kind of want to see us grow into, and podcasts, YouTube University, things of that nature.
Love it. Love it. So I have a question for Kyler. You guys actually have an office, right, that you guys go into? You know, this is the virtual real estate investing podcast. So like,
right,
we're talking about how do you scale your business virtually? What do you think the advantages are, especially now since we're in the COVID environment, that you could see your sales reps' faces every day? Like, what's the company culture like in your building?
Yeah. So, I think as far as like having people in office, because we've tried to do the remote things out of like, we didn't really have an option during COVID for a little while. So, and you got to really notice the difference. So I think the in-office culture, this business is a grind, man. You need your brothers. You guys coming from the Army, you know how much how strong a unit can be when you're seeing them, you're together, you feel the energy. So it's just like that. So we come into the office. You're not always feeling 100%. When you're in your pajama pants and drinking coffee at home trying to make sales calls, it's a lot harder to pump yourself up. But when you're in the office and you hear the guys cranking it out and you hear the phones dialing and the conversation's going, it just jacks you up. And then your fight or flight and your competition kicks in and you want to get in the mix. So I think having we're downtown Austin. So, but yeah, it's in office Monday through Friday, about 8:30 to 6 p.m. So we are in it, grinding every day.
I love that you talked about competition, right? The competition for you is staring you in the face, right? You might actually share a desk with your competition. But
Yeah.
Adam, I guess in a virtual environment, like how do you create that similar level of competition? Because in sales, if you got multiple sales reps, it does matter, right? You do want to have that. So how do you do that virtually?
Yeah, it's tough. I often find myself, as you guys know, I'm really hard on myself sometimes, but I often find myself competing against myself or the number yesterday or the number before noon. And so I try to do that to keep me on pace and motivated with myself. But we've got a great team. I've got my partner, Carlo, now is the head of dispositions. But every now and then I even have to call him and, just check on myself and call him, and he'll tell me the things I want to hear. And then I just beat the phone again. But it is hard. It's you just got to wake up every day and make another phone call, because that could be the one that, that brings home the bag. So.
Awesome. Let's we'll ask a few more questions, then we'll get it wrapped up. What if I want to be an acquisitions manager in wholesaling, in off-market real estate. It's kind of a niche industry, right? It's kind of hard to break into. But what if I'm someone who really wants to? I'm not ready to go do this all by myself, but I think I've got the skills to be a great acquisitions manager for someone. What recommendation would you have? Go ahead, Adam.
Yeah, first, get really, really passionate with real estate, right? Go on to YouTube University, log some hours. There's plenty of content out there, and find out if you really truly can pick up the phone each and every day and make phone calls and get told 99% of the time no. So I would start there, is to really just get really, really passionate about it, become knowledgeable in real estate in general. And then at that point, if you still have the desire and that's what you want to do, start reaching out to the teams you want to be part of. And it goes back to looking for those teams that have your same culture in mind, and you can tell who they are when you go onto their social medias and they're sharing, bits and pieces of their company. So that's where I would start.
Yeah, and I think as far as just being a self-starter in general, you have to have, like Adam said, you have to have a passion for real estate. And if you don't have a passion for real estate, you have to have a passion for helping people. So I try to use a lot of empathy in this job. You hear a bunch of crazy stories and people that are going through some tough times. So to actually care about the other person on the other end of the phone makes your job a lot easier. So it's not so transactional. You're actually thinking, hey, how can I help this person out? And that's originally why I got into this job in general. Is like, okay, I want to help people. I don't want to be a real estate agent. How can I get in investing and still help people out? So I think I've helped tons of people that may not have been in the best situation, but when they tell me, like, thank you so much, you're a godsend, I'm so glad you called, that makes my whole day. So that just keeps me going. And if you're just getting started and looking to get into it, definitely think about it as a career, not necessarily a job. I'm thinking long term, like if you want to, even if you do want to be a real estate agent and you're not virtual and you want to start generating your own leads, start go into it as an investor. And then if it doesn't work out, by the way, I'm also a realtor. I'd love to list it for you. So, you have to be in it. You have to be passionate and make it a career.
Yeah, no doubt. It makes the job a lot easier if you love the asset class, right? It helps if you are interested in single family homes. Obviously it does, So I want to ask a question that's more personal. Kyler, you talked about what you do in your free time. Not a lot of TV, a lot of education. What books are you reading right now? And then Adam, you could follow up with what you're focused on and you're learning.
Yeah, I got a couple I'm going for right now. So the one I just picked up is Big Money Energy from Ryan Serhant. So that one was awesome. And he basically talks about it's kind of like leveling up your mindset and stop playing so small and just carrying the energy of all right, if I'm going to go make a lot of money, how would a person like myself that makes a lot of money act? How would they portray themselves? What's their posture like? What's their tonality? Everything. So, and then on the mental side, I got the Heart of Buddha's Teachings. So yeah, just staying very neutral and not going too deep into your emotions. Is this a good thing or is it a bad thing? Who cares? It just is, and just dealing with it.
I love that. Did Ryan's book detail where he gets his suits?
No, it did not.
No?
I couldn't afford him if he did. So
yeah, you will if you get $2 million in fees.
That's right. Yeah, we're working towards it.
There you go. Adam, what are you researching? What are you learning?
Yeah, so for me, it's actually a reread of, I'm a huge Grant Cardone fan, so it's a Sell or Be Sold is the book I'm currently in. And then really it's just, I'm in the Army full-time as well, so for me right now, it's been a lot of podcasts of lately.
Awesome. Love it.
Excellent. So where can people find you? What if they want to get in touch with you? What if they've got a deal that maybe one of you two would be interested in, or maybe they've got some sales acquisitions questions they want to bump off you? I'll give it to you first, Kyler. How can someone get in touch with you?
Yeah, so Facebook and Instagram is where I'm at the most. So it's just Kyler Peters, Kyler, not Tyler. So Kyler Peters on Instagram as well. And I also have a page of Art of Acquisition. So that's where I do a lot of just tips, just small wholesaling tips and strategies. So I'm trying to work on putting more content out there. So you can reach me on that page as well if you're a wholesaler looking to get started, want to reach out. I'm happy to help. And if you got a deal, just find me at Kyler@wanttosellnow.com. And I am in that email daily, and I will get your deals reviewed.
Yeah, I like it, Kyler. Actually, the Art of Acquisition is where I first came across Kyler on Instagram. I was like, this guy's a giver. He was putting out some information there, and I realized who he was, and I reached out to him. So, yeah, it's really cool to have you there. But for me, you can reach me at Adam at graylineinvestments.com. That's the email handle. Send all your juicy deals that you may have over to the email. I will also comp it right away, get you a response. You can also find me over on Instagram, probably the most at Parsons0927. But yeah, that's where you guys can find me.
Excellent. Really enjoyed this, team. Tons of great information. And what I hope people took away from this is sometimes acquisitions can feel overwhelming, right? But to me, it is, hey, you got to pick up the phone and talk to people, right? And then your system can look whatever. It can look like anything, right? But you have to have some system that says, when I get done talking to this person, who am I going to call next? Right? And as long as you can talk to a lot of people and you've got a system that keeps bringing you qualified leads and you keep calling them, that's where the money is made, right? And sometimes it takes people a lot longer to get there than they wish, right? Kyler said it took you 9 months to get your first deal, right? Like that's a grind, right? That is absolutely a grind. But guess what? Stuck with it, closed some deals. Now he's one of the best acquisitions managers in the country. So Kyler, thanks so much for being on. Adam, thanks so much for being on. Really appreciate both of your guys' time.
Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate you having us. Thank you.
Pleasure. Thanks.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for listening, guys. If you like this, if you got value out of it, please leave us a review. Leave us some comments. We'd appreciate it. Thanks for everything. Take care. See you, Frank.
Later, guys.